hello all. Thank you for joining us on this stream of the Netrunner World Championships Team Tournament. World Championships official start tomorrow. My name's Guy. I'm here with Luke.
Yes, welcome. Come all the way from Australia to be here to sit next to Guy. It's a pleasure.
Well, yeah, and we are here in beautiful Barcelona in Casa Ruiz. A wonderful venue. Usually an art gallery. Very kind of them to give us this this space to use this as tournament. You are joining us halfway, some way through round one of the team tournament, and we are here seeing Andy versus IG, and we have on IG we have Augustus coming from Spain. And on the Andy, we have Angelos coming from Greece. What have we seen so far? So, we've got this board state here. What might people have missed if they've not been watching so far?
Well, eagle-eyed viewers will notice that neither Andy nor Industrial Genomics are legal in the current pool. So we are watching the Eternal game from this team tournament. Each of the players is playing in a different format. We have one table of Eternal, one table of Standard, and one table of Startup. So these players have each assembled decks from the entire history of the game, and a balanced team is putting points on certain cards to provide a balanced format.
Now, my understanding with Eternal, there is also a not quite a ban list, but different cards contribute different points totals, so that you may well find that you can't play exactly the deck that you want to. Some kind of balancing there. We are briefly losing our image, but we can now see. Marvelous. So we now have, so this is a power shutdown being played, if I'm not mistaken. Is that?
Yes, that is a power shutdown
from the Genomics, which trashes cards from or is it from the deck, I believe?
From the deck.
From the deck, and you can use that trashing to trash something on the runner's side of the board. Was it hardware, I believe, or was it only? I have a feeling it was hardware or above. I'm trying to think if I ever used it to get rid of programs in the days where one could use power shutdown. We will see.
I must confess my knowledge of power shutdown is a little rusty.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time when one saw power shutdown, it was I power shut down everything into archives, which is indeed what we have now seen.
Yeah.
Now, Spin Doctor has been popped, so my presumption is we are now seeing a combination of some kind, because you can reassemble your R&D by popping a Jackson Howard into the exact order that you want, which I believe they are now using one of the newer cards to do that. That is...
Simulation Reset.
Simulation Reset, thank you, yes, which is trash a certain amount from hand, then you can put a certain amount back from the heap back into R&D, and then you can draw that many cards. So IG is going to be able to have the exact cards that it wants in hand, which is interesting. I'm very used to power shutdown combos immediately firing with some kind of play all your cards from an R&D card. However, this is exciting. We've got cards from here. So we have
Friends in High Places.
Friends in High Places. So that is install 2 cards from archives or your hand. I would presume in this case from archives to open that up. So yeah, Friends in High Places allows, I believe it is 2 installs. However, I've only seen 1 as of yet. Although I believe that may be that's an upgrade install on archives, isn't it? That'll be the Nanodisk, which allows you to fire face down ice from archives, firing 1 subroutine. So it's not going to be super fun running archives for quite a while. So tell me, what's the plan? Because obviously, theoretically, next time IG draws or attempts to draw, that is a loss.
Yes.
So tell me, what's the plan?
I must confess,
Yep.
I don't know, and that's what I find really exciting about this format as well.
Yeah.
Is that a variety of mad wizards can really investigate the deep cuts and do their best with the very extensive card pool. So I must confess some ignorance of what to expect from this IG deck, but that's really exciting as well.
Yeah.
And now you'll notice that there's perhaps 35 cards face down in archives, so any asset is going to be very difficult to trash right now.
Because of the IG ability, where yes, each face down does increase the cost of trashing by 1. Thus, even assuming that's a 0 cost to get rid of, we are looking at we are looking at something quite considerable there.
We've seen a rebirth be played.
We have seen a rebirth. We are switching from Andy to Steve Cambridge. Now we've got an account siphon, easily breaking the quandary with the turtle. Then we'll gain a credit from Desperados, and that creates credit neutral, except for obviously stealing 5 credits from the corp, gaining 2 tags as well. I'm presuming that in this case you just decide. I don't think Friends in High Places IG has high profile target or anything similar that is going to make that's going to make me very sad with hanging around with tags. I suppose you might want to protect your Caldera. Do you think you decide, or have you decided that Caldera is not the important part of this matchup?
Yeah, I don't know. You could. Well, it may also be the corporation's economy might become a little bit more strained right now as well. They may not have such time to act. And here we go with yet another siphon.
Yet more siphon. I believe that's up to 6 tags now. So I think that is. I think the tag me plan is begun. So. If you really want to trash Caldera, there it is. Now, what are we looking at here? So, Runner is reading the card extensively. I am going to put a small amount of money on, is that a 1 Poa?
I think 1 Poa is a very good pick.
Which is a fantastic card to say. And I believe essentially allows 1 card to go into R&D, which then allows the draw at the start of turn.
So that will prevent the corporation decking out and losing. Exactly.
So we have our answer to the what if. I presume there is some caution, however. Like if you see an employee strike and run, you could presumably trash that 1 Poa. I think employee strike is quite expensive in the Eternal Points. Scheme, so there may well be just a decision from Corp side. I'm not going to see employee strike, so I don't have to play around it. And obviously, you've already got another current there, so do you sort of sit back and go, you know what? I know you don't have employee strike. You wouldn't have 6 currents. Here we go. I can do my game plan. Speaking of game plans, do you know what you do from here as IG?
As IG,
yeah,
I really don't know.
Okay.
We've seen Kakarenbo, so that's a great card that will install and advance a card twice from archives.
Yeah.
So that's potentially a scoring.
Now, amusingly, I have a feeling that the plan hasn't been play employee strike and crash 1 Poa. It is siphon the corp for all their money, clear a Miss Bones, and trash it anyway. Like, I mean, that is a very expensive trash. I don't know exactly how many cards are face down. However, they would have calculated between them, and that was a lot of money. However, we now have a further Friends in High Places from hand. So presumably there was at least one card for start of turn.
Yeah, so the mandatory draw.
Yeah,
They did get one for the mandatory
Yes.
draw.
So allowing for some elements to go back.
So Friends in High Places has installed a face down card in the remote, and then also a Jackson Howard, which is now being removed from the game to shuffle back a further 3 cards.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the last of Wampoa.
I don't think we've seen the last of Wampoa. I will admit that I perhaps missed exactly how the Corp got out of that particular jam. But I am sure that someone in the chat will work that out, or I will, in the future days, we'll work it out. So I think we're having a look at the runner heap here, just to see possibly how many Miss Bones do you have, and other such questions. So we still have the question of the game plan here on the Corp side, because we have a beautiful combo of staying in the game and making things very expensive. However, what then? Because presumably there is a win condition of some kind. There's a run on HQ we now see. So runner side, presumably just deciding to clear out the Corp's hand. Are they worried about other things? They're asking, what would you like me to keep? And the Corp, would you like me to keep an account siphon? The Corp has declined. I mean,
Steve Cambridge is presenting all of the difficult questions.
Yes, exactly. Would you? Yeah, exactly. Would you like me to be able to steal more of that money for tags? The answers came back no. And we are now having a run on archives. So that is going to, so we get the Nanovisc, which ice was that?
That is a paper wall, if I believe.
Amazing. So the fear, perhaps, is not quite there, in that we are running this Nanovisc, and it is just throwing the smallest ice at you ever. You are being stopped by 3 paper balls and a vanilla, I believe I saw there.
Yes.
Which is not the scariest thing that's ever nanovisked me. However, that may well be all that's needed. Okay, we have a res.
Could this be a clearinghouse?
That is a good question. It does look vaguely clearinghousey, and would start to explain our. We have a Kakarenbo being played, which will turn all of the all of the archives ice face down again, as you can install and double advance one thing, and that is the Corp's entire turn. I believe Kakarenbo is a triple of the rare triples in the game, so we are going to install double advance something, and then everything else is going to stay face down, thus turning back on every piece of IG and every piece of Nanovisc as well. So those paper walls, they're back. They weren't paper in the, they are a lot more than paper.
That's right. Reinforced, corrugated cardboard at this point.
Yeah, this is M&S paper. This is paper of high repute. But what has been double advanced there? What am I looking at?
So the archives is going to be very difficult to run.
Mm-hmm.
That's just there's 4 end the run ice or more in archives.
Mm-hmm.
So the runner will be loath to run archives.
I think we've now seen that is also an Nanovisc.
Yes.
So that means presumably now we have 2 servers where you can be paperwalled and vanillaed.
Yep.
Okay. So is that going to be a scoring server? Is that what this becomes?
Maybe, yeah.
Wow. That is that is a way through.
The IG lists that I've been seeing recently have typically been more tempting to kill any intruders,
Sure.
but this one, it may indeed have a scoring plan.
Yeah, fair play to whichever plan it is. This is eternal. All is fair.
That's right.
In Eternal and War. And I will note before any of those who find IG to be the villain of a piece, before they start campaigning in chat or on the streets. Once we have the reverse game, the person who is currently runner is also on industrial genomics, so there are no heroes here, only true wonderful villains. We have another run on HQ, presumably to investigate what can be found in hand.
And the runner's considering their heap to
Yes.
present an option to the corporation.
Yeah, I mean, presumably they are reasonably sure that they will not see an agenda or something they want in HQ, and they are purely using it for the Steve Cambridge.
Yes.
It's gaining a credit anyway with Desperado. It's you're effectively card drawing.
Yeah.
You're drawing from a heap, and we're still looking at the Nanovisc.
I'm sure the Andromeda player would have loved to have been given the pinhole threading from that Steve Cambridge trigger.
Yeah, though I suppose what do you do with a pinhole threading here? Because I suppose you can run on HQ and hit the remote Nanovisc and pay many credits, because presumably if we've got face downs that are roughly equal to the deck minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards that I can see in the field plus 2 there, that's, what is that, 39 face downs probably. Do I want to trash something for 39 credits that is a real question.
Typically, I say no in situations
you
like that.
say no in questions
Yes.
like that. Fair enough. I mean, we each have our choices. I think that is an excavator. Based on the fact that the vanilla just got trashed for money, I think that is a...
Sievgator Excavator.
Yes, thank you. Yes. There we
So
go.
that's a start of turn trigger where the
Yes.
corporation can trash an installed card and gain 4
Full
credits.
exactly. More commonly seen in OB, I believe, because of course you can get the OB trigger, but always fun to see it used out of faction. And presumably there'll just be a point where they decide, this vanilla, this quandary, it's not actually keeping the runner out anymore, so it's mainly to stop early siphons, I guess. So why not just gain 4 credits? It works. I like that kind of thinking where you realize that something is no longer useful and it can now go away. The multiple points of the game.
So yeah, every piece of face down ice in archives is now effectively protecting that server because of the nanocivic grid there.
Exactly. We are getting, I believe, another Friends in High Places played, which has placed one thing on the Nanovisc and one new remote. What do you think the new? I mean, presumably the what's in the Nanovisc is going to be something either question mark agendary or flatline-y. Presumably not net damagey at this point. So that is a score. So we are on a scoring plan, and I think that is probably a concession from the runner side. I think they've seen the writing on the wall. So that is so we have a score of 3-1. I forget the name of the card. Regenesis, which has allowed for a 5-3 to be scored from the bin if it is face down. Thus, that's 4 points. And I think that runner side can see that is going to that is a board state that will continue and get them there. So why not play? Why not switch and play their corp deck, which for all we know could be a slow deck, and we have IG on the new corp side. So perhaps there is even greater knowledge from Angelos there that they need some time as well. And they're going to be up against Essa. So that will be a slightly different matchup.
That's right. Essa will be working very hard to put cards in the bin.
Excellent news from IG's point of view. Though I suppose you have the risk of you've got a more delicately balanced. If it was exactly the same type of IG of power shutdown, you've got to more delicately balance how many cards you keep on the top of R&D, because ESA could like put the last 2 in by taking core damage. Do you have any instincts on what an Eternal ESA deck looks like?
I must confess complete ignorance.
Okay, yeah,
I think there's just a lot of effects that you can stack that will further put pressure the corporation for tempo and to putting their cards in archives.
Yes.
I can imagine things like Hacktivist Meeting being played here.
Very nice, yeah. Yes, of course, Hacktivist back in the day, a staple of decks. Which I believe res an asset or upgrade. When the corp does that, they have to pitch a card. Was it at random Hacktivist Meeting, or did they have some choice on what? I have a feeling it was random, because I have a feeling it messed any time I was trying to do a combo that I had to just go, hopefully I don't lose the Scorched Earth here, etc.,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
Yeah, back in good old combo days. So you think you've got Hacktivist potentially, you've got other things that will put more cards in the bin and just generally make the corp's life difficult.
Now, crucially, I think we've seen a couple of Light the Fires in
Yes,
that deck, so
indeed
that
there
will
are
be
Light the Fires.
doing a great job of turning off the IG power.
Absolutely. Now we can actually sneakily see some of that opening hand on the IG side. We're already seeing that it is a slightly different look in that.
Yes.
I've seen far more assets. I think that's a Reaper function. I think that is. Is that bioethics there?
And we've got a Bladderwort second from the left.
Bladderwort as well. So we've got a lot more. Hey, we're going to do 1 net damage, and we're gonna spread out a little bit more potentially. So you're potentially. Potentially that means that Hacktivist would do a lot more work, assuming we see it. So corp opening here. Now I'd expect to see a certain amount of install. Indeed,
Yes.
we see install. We see install. Come on, don't make me look like a fool. And install. Marvelous. So that is 3 opening face down assets from IG there. Obviously, IG at the moment hasn't made them more expensive, but corp is starting, or runner is starting on 5 credits only. So runner opening with a Juice's Wild.
Electing to draw. Get some money.
Yep, the Juice is Wild, as we occasionally call it in the UK. Though, of course, it is always exciting to see Dan Genio on the wonderful artwork on Juices. We have an Inject there. So we are going to see I believe that is a Light of Fire. I believe that is a Clone Ship. That is a Rumour Mill and a Botulus. So the Botulus will go in the bin. Okay, credit. The Rumour Mill is interesting because the Rumour Mill might imply that we don't have a Hacktivist Meeting. Though a Rumour Mill is going to be useful, would have been useful against the other deck, of course, because I think you could have made the Warm Power no longer a 1 power, it would have been a no power.
Yes, so that current has the effect of blanking any unique
card. Yes, thank you.
corp.
Yes.
Is it assets and upgrades?
That is a very good question.
Because it can't hit ice.
I think it can hit upgrades because I'm fairly yes, it certainly can, because it was a big problem for back in the day Caprice Nice or Marcus Batty.
Yep.
If one was so inclined to play such cards. So we have and now is that an amped up being played?
That looks like an amped up, yes.
That is amped up. So presumably part of the power of this ESA deck is that you can play both amped up and the completely different card.
Running Hot.
Running Hot, exactly. Because they do have different words on them. Therefore, they are different cards.
Yes.
And they both give a core damage, which is excellent for your ID ability, and they both give you those extra clicks to do stuff with. So the IG player, obliging and putting 2 face-down cards in the bin into archives there. I'm sure with a very sad look upon their face, certainly. However, that is more clicks.
And each of those face-down cards is making their assets stronger
Exactly.
and harder to trash.
Making them harder to trash, though I suppose it is not controlled. That is one thing, the IG is not getting to choose what cards are going face down there, so it can't just be shock and more shock, which I would expect this kind of IG to have shock, I suppose, whereas obviously the last one was endless vanillas, paper walls and quandaries in archives. So an astrolabe there is going to be great. Every time the corp creates a new server, ESSA will draw one card. And a clone chip, just taking all the great shaping cards, which allows for a program install. Slightly more generously than Simul chip, though without the discount. So we're seeing some discards. So a Botulus, a Faust, and
a Katorga breakout.
That is a Katorga breakout, yes, of course. So so just in case there were more things to run. Now, we have a series of reses from corp side now. So we are seeing the bioethics. We are and we are seeing the bladder wart as well. So is looking at the corp's total money, that is going to be 2 trashes straight away. So runner is already under that net damage pressure of like 2 pinks a turn. And I believe both of those currently cost 5 to trash because of the face downs.
Yes, not where you want to be.
No. So, I mean, what are you expecting runner next turn to be? I mean, do you presumably have to start challenging this board state, right?
Yes, you get the runner is getting free draw from Astrolabe, so maybe they're not quite. That's taking some of the heat off. Like I think Astrolabe is an amazing pick if you're expecting a lot of corporations to go horizontal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would be attacking the bioethics myself.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, if the corp gets rich enough, the bladder wart obviously ultimately turns itself off. It looks like a run on archives. It being, uncontrolled, they thought, that is unlucky. So that is a breached dome. That is a breached dome in archives that you put there, which that's got to sting a little bit. So that is 1 meat damage and also 1 card from the top of your stack as well. I think that was the other cool thing about breached dome. And now we have a run. That is a res hostile, so on trash they will have to take a single net damage as well. So yeah, this is, from my instinct, this looks quite uncomfortable to the runner side. Obviously the rest of the hostile also means that the bladder wart is back on for quite a few turns, because bladder wart will do 1 net damage so long as you are below, I believe it's 5 credits.
That's right.
So that is another hit. Start a course turn on the bladder wart, leaving just 1 card in hand, which is a worryingly low number, I think.
Yes, I would like to have more if possible.
Playing against a Jinteki deck that of course is using snare sleeves just to really put the pressure into your own mind.
That's right.
Though presumably there's a lot of potential here to deck the runner out. That the runner just simply runs out of cards. You may not be able to do enough damage in 1 turn. And they've got all this stack drawing with Steel Skin, and I've had worse, presumably being legal in this format as well. But you cannot draw what you do not have. Though with the amount of shaper cards, I wonder if there is a levy to reshuffle all your cards back in. I don't know what the view of that is internal, whether it was a very expensive piece. I would assume so.
Yeah, I can imagine if you're convinced that Industrial Genomics is the corporation to beat, then it'd be very reasonable to tailor your runner deck in order to be able to present some threats to IG.
Yeah.
You see Augustus is consulting a teammate.
Yeah, one of my favourite bits about team tournaments, definitely. That it's sort of completely legal to go, hey, what would you do here? Turn to a teammate, as indeed we are doing here, like in the commentary box, and saying, hey, what's going on now? What's this? Who's that? What's that card called?
Guy, help me, what should I do?
Yeah, exactly. Obviously checking that there's a keyhole in the bin, potentially remembering the text on keyhole exactly to say, are you trashing with keyhole? And I believe, yes, keyhole is phrased such that the runner is trashing on keyhole, I believe. Thus it would trigger hostile architecture, I believe that's correct. That is so that is a net damage on the steel skin, so that is more draw, which you might see as a fantastic thing because you're safe, but also, do you want to be drawing? Because now that stack is already just getting thinner.
Yes.
So Corp here has so I think that's more Rashida. That's an Excalibur ice potentially, though of course no ice down so far because they've been able to put so much pressure on the runner side that there's been no run on Centrals apart from Archives, and the ID has largely defended these assets.
That's right. And we saw the corporation drew a Reaper function, so that will be that's definitely a threat of bringing this game to a conclusion.
So presumably you use that, only at the point where you really need to, or potentially, I suppose, to spend some money to get your Bladder Ward up and running.
Well, you could res it and not fire it.
Oh yes, of course, you can indeed res and not fire. That is wonderfully rude. What do you do as a runner here? What's the goal? Well, apparently the goal is, hey, time to keyhole. So we are keyholing. What are we seeing a res there? We are seeing another hostile. Was that not unique? That is terrifying. I had always assumed those were unique, but that is So this will be a trash and 2 net damage to the runner. So what are we seeing go in the bin there? A further hostile. That is a keyhole, and what is that card going in the bin?
That looks like the Clan Vengeance.
Right. Yes, of course. Yes, Clan Vengeance. Yeah, there will be occasions where we will forget that cards exist because it's eternal. But Clan Vengeance is a huge potential card for Esser. Clan Vengeance, I believe, gains power counters as you take damage, and then you can clear the corpse hand, depending on how many power counters you have. So it's a fantastic card for disrupting combinations. I think it's potentially less powerful here because most of the good stuff is going to be on the board rather than in hand.
Yes.
But certainly a huge card for us to have throughout the day, I think. So now we have a second keyhole being played. Let's shuffle that up because we just nearly saw 4 cards. There we are. So what's going in Archives here? An Excalibur, interesting. I suppose to ensure that they can just keep running if they want to. However, hostile will fire again, hitting out up. And is that a Citadel Sanctuary? That is is that a Laguna Velasco, I believe? That is another Shaper card, which just suggests to me that surely a levy is somewhere here. Yes. Because that is a lot of draw. So unless the sort of a plan was to go draw, build final board state, possibly with labor rights or something like that. But this, the runner is very, very happy to take net damage here, like all the way, and go down to far fewer cards. So now sitting on 2 cards in hand. Let's shuffle up. So we now have another. Yeah. So that is some more net damage. So now 0 cards in hand for the runner. This is. Do you think this IG is running something like Neural or a
I think
similar?
it's unlikely. I think it's Reaper function because that doesn't require the runner to run.
Yes, I see.
Yeah, I think a Reaper function will do it.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, and I suppose if you've already thought ahead to things like Clan Vengeance and Hand Disruption, you're like, you know what, I'll just... More stuff on the board. Like, the runner can't keep up with all of this. And it feeds into your game plan a lot more, I suspect, than just having a Neuro. You're quite right. A couple of cards in heat there. Now we're just getting some draw on the runner side. Could it be IG sweep? This would be... yep, so start a turn. We're getting 2 more net damage trashes. There we have running hot and inject. 2 cards remain in hand. So I suppose it's the thing. The ESA has been too poor to go and truly fight this board state. This board state is here.
Yeah.
So the plan has been, well, I will keyhole my way to victory and just take the damage and hope I can put enough in archives that that I deal with that. Now there is 1 piece of ice over archives now. The first piece of ice all game, I would note. Now, what do you suppose? I mean, could that be an enemy or something to be like, right? You can come in, but unless you're stealing 7 points right now, you hit all the shocks and and everything that is going to make you very sad. Because we are seeing more keyholing going on, so it does feel like my instinct here is that this is the these are the attacks of I don't want to say that it's not quite desperation. These are very strong players who know what they're doing, not reacting emotionally, but you've got a narrow path to victory potentially.
Exactly.
You can't control the board, so you do exactly what you can to create a potential win condition, which is, hey, if 7 points go in archives, I can access those agendas before I access all the damage, which would flatline me afterwards. But if I've got 7 points, I don't mind if I'm flatlined. That's
right.
That's just the runner life.
Pain is temporary, glory is forever.
Glory is forever, exactly. Yeah. So, and obviously, with this being a team tournament, your glory is for your teammates as well as yourself. What do you think is? We haven't seen much ice. I know we saw Excalibur in hand earlier. Do you think? Do you mind if it's Excalibur? Is it just a bluff that it might not be an Excalibur? Or?
I think Excalibur is a good pick because of the way that it protects the agenda that we've seen go in, the Future Perfect. That's a vintage Jinteki 5/3 agenda that invites the corporation runner to play a little side game, and unless the runner wins that time, the corporation, the agenda stays right where it is.
And indeed, that side game is in archives as well, isn't it? Yes. It is not one of those agendas that just goes, well, I'm in archives, so have at. It's more than happy to continue to be a pain. But if you're in the sort of the narrow path of victory, you just say to yourself, I will win that side game. That's what I'll do. I will win that side game, and I admire those kind of decisions.
Absolutely. It's often said that players play not to lose, and they could do better by playing to win. And
exactly, yeah. We shall see a lot of very strong players over the next 3 days of Netrunner World Championships.
That's right.
And I look forward to seeing all the ways in which, and I believe
there we go.
That is a flat line. There we are. Well, that
has 3 cards in hand.
Yeah.
4 net damage at the start of turn. Exactly. That's a kill.
And that was secretly one of those assets there was a Malia. I don't know if you observed that. I love a Malia, which could have blanked. Could that have blanked Light the Fire, I believe?
Yes.
Yes. So unfortunately, we didn't get to see the reaction of here's my disrupting combo piece, and here is my piece to disrupt your disrupting combo piece. But that is round 1 of the team tournament. We see Industrial Genomics win twice. We'll see whether, in the eternal third of the team tournament, whether Industrial Genomics continues to be dominant. I think at this point, whilst there is no game on stream, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with you for round 2. Thank you very much.
Yeah.